Subject matter that may be difficult for some viewers has been included in the video description.
Buddy and the woman he was carrying up come crashing down to the platform. The woman hits the ground and is immediately killed. And it is
no.
not a pleasant sight. And Syranos, it is right in front of you. And everyone's attention was just turned there. So Syranos, a lieutenant, comes forward and stands before you and then gestures to a door on the side.
And I turn and walk.
Okay. And he walks behind you. Another guard opens the door and walks through it before you, and you are walking between these two. And then to the left and right, there are doors. So 12 rooms in total. You're led to somewhere near the end, not exactly the end. And they open the door and gesture for you to step in.
Okay. I go in.
Upon entering, it's it's not the Law and Order SVU trope single table in a gray room with a double-sided mirror kind of thing. It's a somewhat comfortable setup. Obviously not lavish in any way. There's a basin of water. There are cushioned chairs, a desk with stationery on it. And the lieutenant goes and sits while the guard closes and remains at the door and uses a key to lock it, remaining inside with both of you. I am Lieutenant Aldian. I will be conducting the record of your report into this incident. It is my obligation to inform you that whatever it is you may say will be used to ascertain if any crimes have been committed and who is responsible. It is at my discretion what portions of this report will transfer into the primary incident report. Now, before that causes you alarm, I will say that I believe that is more for your protection than to do you disservice. Do you understand?
I understand, Lieutenant.
Very well. And he opens a drawer on his side of the table, pulls it out, and this box is lifted up, where he opens it up, and a small, four-pronged pedestal and a white orb placed on the table. This will emit a zone of truth. I cannot compel you to submit to its effects. However, if you do not, we will know, and you must understand the potential implications and how that would be perceived by us. Do you understand?
I do. I have nothing to hide.
And he touches the orb. And a zone of truth is emitted. Do you wish to resist the effect?
Nope.
No wisdom saving throw needed. You feel that under the effect of this spell, and this is the first time you have been under the effect of the spell. You're aware of it because it's an old spell. It's been used for a long time in every kingdom and organization that's ever existed. Even in business, it's super common. You are incapable of lying here.
Okay.
He says, state your full name for the record.
Syranos.
As you go to say Syranos, the words catch in your mouth. You cannot speak a lie.
I don't know.
Which is the truth. Because you cannot lie. And at that, he kind of rears his head back at you and taps his pen on the desk a little bit. He's like, that would be a first.
You're not the only one confused.
Understand, I will need to gather your names or aliases from your friends. Let us put it this way. What does your party call you?
Syranos.
Syranos. From where do you hail? Your place of birth?
Can I do a history check here? Because I know the name of my mother and that I'm going to Singorn. Can I do a history check there? Or no?
You would know. So the city that you were raised in would have been where you were, as far as you know, where you were born.
Yeah, but I couldn't say that, so yeah.
The same thing happens.
I don't know.
Try this again. Where would those in your party say you hail from?
Bisis Teal.
Bisis Teal. Somehow I suspect that this will be the same. What is your heredity? What is your race?
I am half elf and I don't know.
What would the individuals in your party say is your race?
Half elf, half dragonborn.
Very well. And he kind of takes the orbs and shakes it a little bit. Oh. You're good.
All right.
He kind of takes the orb and shakes it a little bit. I am under its effects as well. That works. It's working. These questions are only a formality. They don't necessarily apply to the incident race is only collected for demographic information and not used any way except to your benefit to prevent undue discrimination. But this is quite strange. I'm sure you understand.
My apologies. I really don't know a lot about myself.
Oh, fair enough. You would not be the first. Now, recount the events from beginning to end as best you can.
Okay. We were riding on the lift. We got on the lift. I'll start. We got on the lift. It started to raise. And at a certain point, the automaton, one of the automatons, dropped its arms and shut down, went slack.
And that automaton was at the one closest or furthest from you?
Closest.
Continue.
Being told that not being told, I hailed down one of the attendants, an intern. She mentioned that the automatons run powered by the ley lines.
Do you know this intern's name?
Trying to recall.
They did not give it. Because they were not asked.
Yeah, I did not get her name.
Very well.
After mention of the ley lines being used to power the automatons, I had recounted a mission that me and my party were given by Commander Lucinda in Comorda.
Lucinda Steele.
Correct.
Continue.
We are investigating Cult of the White Skull, and I want to read in. Can I take an insight on him when I bring them up?
Yes, which, given the effects of the Zone of Truth, I would say it's at advantage.
Him and the person that's in here with us. I would like to pay attention to both of them.
Yeah, go ahead. Just go ahead and roll the check.
All right. Advantage. 14.
Okay. He's got his hand in his position. He's writing, right? And at the moment you say "Cult of the White Skull," he slaps the pen down. He looks to the other. Your read of their responses. It's not like you don't get the sense that like, oh, hey, that's a cult member, and you got surprised, right? Like that's not what you read. It's more like, what the fuck? what did he just say? Why is that? It's an elevator. What's going on? Kind of thing from both of them.
Yeah.
Seems they're both under the effect of the Zone of Truth.
We're investigating Cult of the White Skull, who have been manipulating ley lines. And hearing that, I asked this intern to go grab someone else I could speak to. They came back with Gortash.
Picks the pen back up. Seems like there's a bit of an omitted section, if you will.
He told us he was the chief engineer. And he updated us that, well, this has never happened before. The automatons have never locked up, never shut down. And with that, I divulged what we're investigating because it affects ley lines. And
I am... hold for a moment. As I discussed, it is up to my discretion what is included in the final incident report. I am omitting certain details that are pertinent to ongoing military investigations.
Understood.
If those details do become relevant or some connecting elements, then they will be reintroduced. Please continue.
Okay. After sharing this information, Gortash essentially asked us to sit tight while they work on the automaton. We just wanted the info, you know. And then there was it was like a shudder of power into the automaton. And the whole platform like shook, moved a little. So worry increased. And one of my party members noted people around because we're worried for individual safety. It's what we do. And
so at this point, we'll kind of shift time a little bit and say you do a lot of the explaining as to how more continued malfunctions, people being guided to the ladder, all that discussion kind of happens.
I want to make sure that in that discussion, I point out specifically that I was given authorization by Gortash to attempt to get people to safety, because I did get that.
Okay.
I specifically requested that and was given it. And was given consent by the parents of the children and the woman who died.
Both of those points, basically all three of those points, are made clear.
Okay.
But at this point now we get to the moment Buddy is taking the woman up.
Okay.
And as he traveled upward with the woman?
As he traveled upward, I tried to gain attention of other individuals to seek out magical users that could help get other people to safety. And upon getting their attention, the woman and Buddy fell in front of me.
That is essentially the end of the report. As my captain informed me, you all were doing your best to remain cooperative, as well as to comfort and attend to the child of this woman in the time that transpired between then and now.
Yes, sir.
I question. I understand your intentions. You recognized and did also report that the initial instructions were to hold. I recognize that Chief Engineer Gortash provided authorization for you and your party to intervene. All of these things will be taken into account. Here is a question, and he takes the stationery and pushes it off to the side. From me to you. Do you believe you're at fault?
For her death?
Yes.
I believe. That if I had to make the same choice again, I would have still tried to save everyone.
Understand that my report is to the side. That wasn't my question. And you know, Syranos, at this moment, just make an intelligence check.
Sure.
Just straight.
13.
You know, you've seen Buddy's gem flight. It's kind of hard to understand how this would have happened. So as you go to answer, is it my fault? If you're about to say yes, it doesn't come out.
I hit my hand on the table.
There's no reaction from him. Before you're able to answer, he just says, the zone of truth has the ability to reach beyond what you know. You can take that for whatever solace it can provide. Despite the same spell giving you 100 questions at the beginning of this report. He stands up.
Questions are leads, right, Lieutenant?
Very much so.
Thank you.
You will remain here while the others are also giving their reports.
Understood.
And he stands and leaves the room. So Zenesha, you are approached by 3 guards. You saw Syranos be led off by one. It seems that your stature is being taken into account. Now, as you would expect, your weapons are leaned up against the wall inside the door. It doesn't look like they're being, locked away or anything. They're not with you in this moment. As well as, like your bag. You are led to the same door that Syranos was led through, only a number of seconds after him. And through this door, the one that opens it for you steps in front of you. You travel through a corridor that has, like 12 doors, door, around from each side. And you go off to the right, pretty early, like the 3rd door on the right. And step through, or are gestured to step yourself through. Do you comply?
He goes through.
Okay. As you walk through, 2 of the guards enter with you and 1 remains outside. A seat is also gestured for you, and a uncloaked individual sits down while a yellow-cloaked individual steps behind him. The guard still at the door pulls out a key, locks it, and then turns and sits with his arms crossed in front of him, just waiting. The individual that sits down across from you, and this room, it's not lavish by any means, but it's not an interrogation chamber. There are cushioned seats, there's a basin of water with cups, and the table in front of you has stationery. He sits down and says, I am prospective Lieutenant Umra, and I will be conducting the record of your report. As I am in training, my lieutenant here will be guiding this session of questions. Is that acceptable to you?
Used to talking to commanders. Any chance they're available?
Based on this report, if there is the necessity, then that will certainly be arranged. But whether that is a necessity is at the discretion of myself and my lieutenant. Understandable?
And Zenesha reach the stationery that's on the table.
It's on his side. I mean, you could get to it.
May I? She's gonna point to it.
For what purpose, if I may ask?
She's gonna draw something real fast.
Oh, something that's relevant to the incident?
Mm-hmm.
And he separates one of the pieces of paper, pulls out actually a different pen from a drawer, a quill and inkwell, and hands it over to you. Please, by all means.
She's going to draw the symbol of the white skull.
As you're drawing that, he opens a drawer and pulls out a box. He says, before you show us anything or answer any questions, I am obligated to inform you that anything that you do disclose will be used to determine the cause of this incident. And well, the aim is to prevent it from happening ever again. And he opens this box and sets what is like this 4-pronged pedestal and a white orb on it. And he places his hand over it. He says, this object will emit a zone of truth. I cannot compel you to submit to its effects, but understand the implications of refusing to submit to it may cast a seed of doubt over your report. And he taps it, and just this faint little poof of light kind of goes across the room. Do you attempt to resist the Zone of Truth?
I attempt to resist.
Okay, go ahead and make a wisdom saving throw.
16?
That is the DC. You just succeed. And he, very well. As I said, due to the rights and laws of our land, I cannot compel you. And he kind of looks up to the lieutenant that's behind him, and he says, yes, you treat the witness as hostile. For the record, please state your name.
Zenesha.
From whence do you hail? Beothansia.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull
It's
them
okay.
out.
Yeah, you're good. Beothansia. What brought you to Wildmount, into the new empire?
I was kidnapped.
Understood. He kind of looks to the other lieutenant. Says, as unfortunate as that is, it's likely not relevant to this instant. Very well, I may wish to address that later, but that would be at your discretion. And your race is half-orc, correct?
As far as I know.
Very well. Please recount the events from beginning to end as best as you can recollect. And at this point, you can choose at what points you want to make specific notes and what things you want to go into detail about. Otherwise, we'll kind of just assume most of the chronology is kind of described.
And first, she's gonna slide forward the drawing that she did of the white skull symbol.
Okay. Make a performance check. And is Zenesha's right-handed, right? Or left-handed?
She is right-handed.
Okay. Lucky you. You're not writing with a dragon claw.
7.
Oh, God. You know the skull emoji?
Sure.
Which it's always emojis with you. It's about like that. Not great. You slide it over and, both of their eyebrows kind of cock up and it's like, is this meant to be relevant?
I don't exactly have any proof, but I'm pretty sure the Cult of the White Skull is involved. Which is why
As
I
you
asked
say-
the commander.
As you say Cult of the White Skull, he kind of puts the pen down on its side. Understand that that is a subject that is under current military investigation. I reserve the authority to omit from these reports anything that is necessary to preserve investigation, private identity of protected individuals, as well as information that could be used to unfairly discriminate. That function is primarily to protect you why do you speak of the cult of the White Skull?
Well, they worship a dark and hungry god. And as far as I've been able to tell, that's the reason why the elevator stopped working and why we couldn't revive the woman.
Right. For now, let us continue with the kind of looks to the other lieutenant again, who speaks up. We would need specific details. Why do you believe the cult of the White Skull is involved?
Well, when we tried to revive the woman, Arni said that it was because there was a dark and hungry force that prevented her soul from coming back. That force was Igandu. So, I would suggest you guys start checking your ley lines.
They're kind of look to each other again. The one sitting down goes, "The synthetic ley lines are here," and then the other lieutenant kind of like slaps his shoulder. Now is not the time to share information. This is for gathering information. If after these reports are filed, that becomes necessary, then it will be done. Yes, Lieutenant. Due to the sensitive nature of that information, I cannot include it in the report. It is noted directly with myself and my attending lieutenant. And rest assured that it will be followed up on post haste.
I do an insight check on that.
Yeah, just go ahead and roll. And given that he is under the effect of the zone of truth, it would be at advantage, which is a good thing because you rolled a 5.
Yay! Nat 20. So it's a 21 this turn.
He looks totally genuine. They both look, and with a natural 20, you get it off of both of them, and even the guard in the corner. The guard in the corner is like, "What the fuck? Like, what am I mixed up in? What's going on here? The cult here?" These two are like, "I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to understand what's going on. I'm not going to let that happen in my city."
So they seem like genuinely good people, that they're not part of the cult.
Genuinely.
Okay.
Maybe not, good people, but not like cult members, If other reports corroborate that, another series of investigations will, of course, be launched, and there be maybe more of a forum discussion on the matter. Is that agreeable to you?
As long as we can take them down.
And at this point, other than those things, what would Zenesha want to address specifically?
She wouldn't go into details on anything. She's just like,
okay,
go get them.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. You do continue through the chronology, vaguely, as you say. And at the end, pushing the report to the side, he says, "Now, just a question from me to you. And I recognize that you elected not to submit to the zone of truth, which I understand. Do you feel that yourself or anyone in your party is responsible for what happened?"
No.
Understood. At this point, I imagine a number of the other discussions are beginning, some maybe even be coming to a close. We will have you wait here until everyone in your group has been questioned, as well as I believe, the chief engineer. He nods, and a number of others. This is a comfortable enough room to take some rest. And he stands up to walk out of the room.
Zenesha will like kick her feet up on top of the table and start rocking back on the chair.
Okay. But you watch as Syranos is led away by one guard, Zenesha by 3. For you, the same captain who escorted you here walks up to you and gestures to the same corridor. If you would please move with me, Captain.
Certainly.
And he leads you, he walks ahead of you, and the first door on the left opens it and then steps to the side and gestures.
Take a seat. Or is there a chair to sit?
There is. And it's not, it's not a lavish room, but it's not a, torture interrogation chamber. It's got cushioned chairs. There's a table in the center with stationery. The dresser off to the side has a basin of water with cups. You're not going to starve to death in here.
Okay.
He sits down. Yeah, he sits down and gestures to the other seat for you. And he says, "Now, Captain, I'd like you to understand, and I'm sure you're aware of a lot of how this works. And you would that questioning like this, there's going to be an orb that exhibits a zone of truth. You can elect to resist it if you'd like to attempt to, because the rights and the liberties of the new empire, allow people to protect themselves from incriminating themselves, and it's there's a lot of stuff that goes around interrogations like that. And he does pull out a quill and inkwell and sets the orb on its little 4-pronged pedestal. And he says, "You generally already understand this, being a captain. I want to understand what happened.
Of course.
I want to understand why. And I want to know how to prevent this from happening again." And he taps the orb, and a zone of truth moves across the room. Are you going to submit to the zone of truth or attempt to resist it?
I'm going to submit.
Okay. You are incapable of telling a lie. It can't be a half-truth. It can't be any untruth to something. Please state your full name for the record.
Arni Stormborn.
From whence do you hail?
From D-Stock. Originally, check my notes just to...
It was Grimgalier, right?
Originally from Grimgalier, most recently from D-Stock.
Very well. What is your station?
I'm a captain of the City Watch in D-Stock.
Understood. How long have you served as captain?
For about 10 years.
Have you ever received demerits as a captain, not as a lieutenant or under? And the answer to that would be no.
No.
Understood. Your race is, of course, dwarf. What is your age? This is the make everyone check their backstories session.
This is 90 years old.
90. Very well. Please recount the events from beginning to end as best you can. And at this point, we can kind of burn through some of the chronology if you don't want to describe the malfunctions and stuff like that, and just talk about the things that you want specifically talked about.
And we'll fast forwarding through everything up to the malfunction.
Mhm.
And it was at that point that our group started to see if we could lift people off of the platform. And I believe it was Syranos, or I believe it was Syranos that made the inquiry if anyone had the ability to lift people off of the platform. And Buddy made the offer, and a woman gave her approval, and Gortash gave his approval of the efforts as well. And I did not see what exactly it was that had failed. I saw that there was a pulse of energy with the it's a golem, or what was the structure?
Automatons.
The automaton. I saw that there was a pulse of energy with the automaton, and then very shortly thereafter, Buddy and the woman came crashing down to the platform. Buddy had sustained a lot of damage, but was alive, and the woman was dead. And I immediately tried to revive the woman with a revivify spell.
Thank you for that clarification.
I used diamonds that I had procured specifically in the event of such of anybody's death.
Where were these diamonds procured? Apologies for interruption.
From I procured them in services of a Gilmore. I think he's a well-known magic items dealer in this area.
Understood.
I was able to do some errands for him in exchange for the diamonds. And
I will not ask further on that specifically. Are you confident of the quality of the diamonds, that they met the requirements for the spell?
without a doubt. And the spell itself worked. Her body knit together. Her wounds healed. And I have performed this spell before, and all aspects of this spell were the same except for one, and that was when the soul tried to come back, it was pulled away by an outside force.
As you say that, he kind of slaps the pen down and stops writing. He says, Captain, what are you saying?
I have exactly what I have said. We are dealing with something beyond the mortal realm here that has power over souls. And in that moment, as a cleric of the deity Cord, I even appealed to the god Cord, and I felt his presence lending me aid to try to guide the soul of that woman back into her body. And whatever entity that had hold of the soul of this woman, it still was too strong and tore this soul free from us. And
Puts the pen back up and kind of catches up.
and something more. The presence that I felt when I felt in contact with this being was that of hunger, of like something ravenous.
It sets the pen down again. Captain, why are you traveling south of Diastok?
There's a lot that our group is trying to accomplish. Outside of out of character, is Arni aware of all of the everything that was going on with Igandu?
In as much as really any captain of the military was, they would know of Cult of the White Skull. They know they're in service of Ugandu. They know just like descriptions of the Cult of the White Skull and their activities. They know how they were manipulating the ley lines, the synthetic ley lines, in order to destroy cities. You know about Ice Haven having fallen, timelines, general intel sharing. So very much you have a lot of that cursory information.
And as a refresher, what was how much of a connection was there between the Cult of the White Skull and Igandu?
I mean, they are in service directly of
Okay,
Igandu.
that's right.
Yeah.
Captain, that I started my venture with this group to look into who was using the artificial ley lines to destroy cities, and that ended up being this Cult of the White Skull. And as we are finding out, we have reason to believe that they are in service of the betrayer god Igandu. And under this zone of truth, I will also share with you in confidence that while meditating, I felt the presence of Cord again, and confirmed that his efforts were interfered by a betrayer god.
And he's taking a deep breath and letting out slowly. You can tell there's, a lot going through his head. You got a relatively high passive insight. You don't sense any attempt to deceive or anything like that. It looks like he's also under the effect of the Zone of Truth, which also means that any insight checks are at advantage against him. The pen is totally separated from the paper, and he says, I maintain the authority to omit details from this report that are related to ongoing military investigations. I understand your mission. I am both heartened and distraught to hear of the involvement of your deity, as these things are often around dangerous times. Okay. Very well. That technically this report ended at the point of her death, as that was the finality of the incident. I would like to ask you, Captain to Captain, do you believe that you or anyone in your party is responsible for this?
No. For the woman's death?
Yeah.
No. I should clarify, because logically speaking, yes, in terms of Buddy was the one who picked her up and then dropped her, but every action of his was an attempt to save her, and therefore I believe that he is not responsible for her death. Did he cause her death? Yes, but is he responsible for her death? No, because he was trying to save her.
Here I'd like to explain something that interaction of Zone of Truth. You are not prevented from saying what you actually believe, but you notice your passive insight turned within yourself that some of the statements choke in your throat a little bit. Are we responsible for her death? Buddy's actions were all in an attempt to save her. For a reason you don't understand at first, those catch in your throat a little bit. Now, the Zone of Truth still allows you to say what you believe. But it's at that moment that you realize Cord's message wasn't about a betrayer god. All right. Now, Basil, you are led from the entry chamber of the guard post into a hallway of rooms. Looks to be 12 rooms in total. Taking you all the way back to the last door on the right. One guard leading and one following behind you. The guard in front of you opens the door and gestures for you to enter.
All right.
Stepping inside, it is a modestly comfortable room. Wash basin, water to be drank, simple table and cushioned seats. Sitting down at one side, gesturing for you to sit at the other, the guard that led you in prepares to address you, while the one behind you steps inside the room and locks the door with a key, then mans the door. The guard, seated as you take your seat, pulls out from the drawer a set of stationery and a small box. Upon opening it, he brings out a 4-pronged stand and a small white orb that he sets on it. And he says, I am obligated to inform you that this report will be used to ascertain not only the events that have transpired, but also if any crimes have been committed. This device will emit a zone of truth. I cannot require that you submit to it, but if you don't, it doesn't help your chances. And as he taps the orb, a zone of truth is emitted. Do you choose to resist?
I don't choose to resist.
Okay. You feel the zone of truth take hold, and the sensation of being incapable of telling a lie washes over you. Not something you've particularly been directly subjected to in the past, but you've seen it used in your work as a mercenary. He leans forward with the paper and he says, please state your full name for the record.
I haven't thought of a last name out of character.
It's all good.
I'll just come up with one on the spot. Rahul Sindas.
Rahul Sindas. And from whence do you hail?
Come from a small village in Marquet.
And what is your race? Understand that this question is purely for demographics.
Could I not answer that?
It is not required of you. Possibly Dragonborn. Now, please, if you would, recount the events as best you can recollect them from the beginning until the woman's death.
Well, I didn't see much of what happened. I was in the cart when the lift stopped, and there was a little bit of panic, and then from what I could hear, there was attendees going around and helping those that needed it. And then later on, I was informed by a party member that there was plans to help save the children.
You are roused when Buddy climbs the cart and puts his hood over his head, isolating himself. What do you do?
Is he like covered in blood and stuff, or from the fall, or?
Make a perception check.
It's a 17.
There's a there's a smattering of multiple sources of blood. You can tell pretty quickly that he hit the ground hard, and his skin is burst in a couple of places. But there's a little bit of blood on him that looks to be spattered.
Buddy, what happened?
I'm just gonna kind of glance backwards. I couldn't make the flight, the last flight up.
Make the flight.
My
What
wings failed me.
were you doing flying?
Oh, there was a situation with the robots over there, the automatons, whatever they're called, which was jolting the lift pretty good. So me, Syranos, and the others decided to try to come up with a way to at least save, if needed, the kids that were on board and someone to watch them as the rest of everybody else figured out how to do this. I managed to get all the kids up to safety for sure. But the adult that all the parents decided to go up with them wasn't so lucky. I ran out of steam, I guess, from that fight a couple days before with the Lich. I guess I was still tired.
Is she alright? She didn't make it out, but is she alright?
Austin, at this point, is she in the back of
No, this would be this discussion would be happening the minute and a half before that.
Give me a sec.
Yep, you're good.
She didn't make it. I barely survived myself.
So she died in your arms.
I'm not sure at what point she actually died. I was knocked unconscious for a few minutes. She might have bounced off me and then back onto the thing because she wasn't on top of me when I woke up.
And it's at this point, Basil, that murmuring is beginning to build from outside the cart. You can't necessarily make out everything that's being said, but there's a bit of discussion going on.
This is not going to be good. Did you feel at all that you wouldn't be able to make it on that last trip with her?
I didn't feel like there was going to be... I knew I was having a time limit, but I thought I was within that time limit still. But like I said, that fight with the Lich must have took more out of me than I thought.
This is a very big predicament that you're in.
I just wish I could have been faster,
Wishing is the one way to look at it, yeah.
I believe Arni's going to try to bring her back. I just felt too bad to stay by that space, so that's when I came to sit on the cart.
Well, I hope for your sake and the party's sake that she comes back.
That would be very beneficial.
And like Basil's like holding back like a fist, just trying not to lash out.
Just make a, not necessarily deception, but make a deception check, and then Buddy an insight check.
It's a 19.
Oh no, I don't notice. I got a 7.
Yeah, you feel your self-reservation is persevering in this moment.
And they took trips up to the top to drop off the children. And one of the adults wanted to go up there with them. But she couldn't make it, was what I was told.
Why could she not make it?
I don't know the details of that. They fell, and then I presume she died due to the fall.
Now, so here's where the interaction with this zone of truth comes into play. You were specifically told by Buddy kind of exactly what happened.
Oh, okay.
So, because he had just said to you, I was flying her up, right? And then, my wings gave out because I'm tired. So you would kind of, as you go to speak, like, I don't have the details on that. It's like the words just don't leave your mouth.
She was being flown up, and he could not keep flying, and they dropped.
I see. Now, your report is succinct due to your lack of clear witness to the events. I can understand this. I have a question for you outside of the report. Who do you believe is responsible?
I would believe the malfunction to be responsible to cause the panic.
You speak the truth because you must. And it is a valid perspective. Understand that while these questions are continuing with yourself as well as your party members, that you are currently not free to go. I'm sure you understand.
Bunch of legal stuff.
Of course. So, Sashem.
Oh gosh, that's bright.
Yeah, me, huh?
Sashem, you, after your excursion, we'll say, do end up riding a different elevator up due to the line for the one you're in line for just keeps getting longer and longer, and for some reason it's not coming back down. And basically you notice them all, your party, being escorted into the watch post. There we go.
Oh.
Yay!
There we go. There's a buddy.
Yeah.
But as all of you finish the sessions of questioning, with whatever personal revelations, external concerns, trying to protect your party members, protecting yourself, and all of the threads that may or may not tie the cult of the White Skull to this, the questions. Every answer spawns even more. That's where we're going to end tonight's session.